The battlefield was silent now. Smoke rose slowly from the blackened ground, and broken metal lay scattered like bones. The Zernak soldiers walked carefully across the field, their four-legged bodies stepping over burnt trees and destroyed machines. The air still smelled of fire, but the sounds of battle had faded. For the first time in weeks, there was peace. They had done it. They had defeated the human. He had come alone from the stars, landing in a strange black ship that made no sound. At first, the Zernaks thought it was a machine. But when the figure stepped out, tall, armored, and silent, they knew it was something more. This creature fought like a storm. Their weapons barely touched him. Their strongest fighters fell one by one, confused and terrified. He was fast. He was smart. He did not speak. The human attacked their bases, their watchtowers, and even their flying crafts. He seemed to know their weak spots before they did. The Zernak's council feared he might be part of a larger invasion, but General Krath, their leader, believed otherwise. "It's only one. If we kill him, it ends," Krath had said. And now, that moment had come. The final fight had taken place near the mountain ridge, where the human had made his last stand. The Zernaks lost hundreds, but in the end, they stood over the human's body, breathing heavy and bloody but victorious. His armor was cracked. His helmet had rolled down the hill. His face was pale, cold, and still. The Zernaks cheered. They howled into the sky. Krath stood over the body and raised his bladed staff. "Let the galaxy know," he shouted. "We have killed the human." The soldiers dragged the human's body back to their command base. Scientists began to study him. His bones were dense, his muscles stronger than any Zernaks had ever seen. His blood was red like fire, and his brain had strange implants. His armor had technology they couldn't understand. One of the scientists whispered, "What kind of creature is this?" But General Krath didn't care. "It doesn't matter," he said. "He's dead. That's what counts." The soldiers laughed and drank. For days they celebrated. Songs were sung about the day the human fell. The council sent a message to nearby star systems. The human threat was no more. Then, on the fourth day, something strange happened. A low humming came from the human ship. The scientists ran to it, thinking maybe some system was restarting. The ship had been locked shut since his death. No one had been able to open it. But now, it opened on its own. Steam hissed from the entrance ramp. Lights inside flickered on. The Zernaks stared, unsure if they should run or prepare to fight. A blinking light showed on a small screen inside the ship. One of the scientists slowly stepped forward and read the message out loud. It said, "Scout report complete. Main force arriving soon." For a long moment, no one spoke. Then Krath stepped forward, his face pale. "Scout," he whispered. He was just a scout. The celebration stopped that day. The songs ended. Fear returned. The Zernaks suddenly realized they had not won the war. They had only survived the beginning. In the sky, far above the planet, strange lights appeared. They were not stars. They were ships, big ones, hundreds of them, headed straight for the planet. And this time, they weren't sending just one. The Zernaks people looked up in silence. Dozens, no, hundreds, of glowing shapes filled the sky. They moved slowly, like shadows crawling across the stars. The first ship looked like a blade. Long, black, sharp. Others followed behind, shaped like flying beasts. The sky pulsed with quiet thunder. General Krath stood on the watchtower, staring with cold fear. "They came," he said quietly. He was telling the truth. At the command center, alarms rang across the base. Zernak soldiers rushed to their stations. Cannons were loaded. Fighters were scrambled. But no one was ready. No one believed more humans would come. Not after they had killed the first one. The scientists gathered near the human ship. It was still open. The same message blinked on the screen. "Scout report complete. Main force arriving soon. One of the younger scientists, Vec, looked up and asked, why would they send only one human as a scout? He fought like a whole army. An elder scientist replied, what if all humans are like him? That question hung in the air like smoke. Above, the human ships moved closer, but they did not attack. They waited. Then one of the ships sent a message. It was not a voice. It was a video. Short, cold, and clear. It played across every Zernak screen, broadcasted in every language. The message showed the face of a new human, not the scout. This one wore a dark uniform, his eyes sharp and serious. He said, to the Zernak's people, you killed one of ours. A scout. His name was Sergeant Cole. He came alone, in peace, to understand your world. You hunted him. You attacked him. You killed him. You made a mistake. Now we're here to fix it. The screen went black. Inside the command center, fear spread like fire. Kraft growled, do they want war? No, whispered Vec. They want justice. Suddenly, the ground shook. From the sky, something dropped, fast and silent. Not a bomb. It was a pod. The Zernaks watched as it crashed into the mountains near the battlefield where the scout had died. Another pod followed, then another, and another. Each pod carried one thing, a human. Armored, armed, angry. The humans had arrived. The crash pods had fallen like silent meteors across the Zernak's lands. Each one carried a human soldier, tall and cold-eyed, wearing black armor. They moved quickly, without fear, without noise. It was like watching shadows come to life. The Zernaks had never seen anything like it. These humans didn't speak. They didn't yell. They didn't threaten. They just advanced, fast, sharp, and deadly. In the first hour, 3 Zernak bases went silent. No alarms, no cries for help, just silence. General Kraft ordered all forces to gather, hold the cities, defend the mountain gates. He shouted, we will not fall. But it was already too late. The humans moved like ghosts. Every squad was perfect. One moved, another covered, another attacked. Their weapons burned through steel and bone. Their armor turned blades and blaster fire. The Zernaks fought hard, but for every human they killed, 3 more appeared. At the science lab, Vec watched in fear. They're not just stronger, he said. They fight like they've done this 1,000 times. The Zernak cities burned under the human assault. Towers crumbled. Alarms screamed. Soldiers fled in panic as human forces advanced without rest. But in the middle of all the chaos, one word echoed everywhere. Deathworlder. At the Zernak's High Council, fear had taken hold. Scientists were ordered to find answers. What was Earth? Why were its people so dangerous? Vec, the young scientist, dug through ancient files and forbidden data. What he found made his skin crawl. Earth, he whispered, is classified as a Category 5 death world. The other scientists gasped. That ranking was given only to planets where everything wanted to kill you. Weather, animals, diseases, even the planet itself. Storms that could destroy cities. Temperatures that could burn or freeze in hours. Creatures with poison, claws, and speed. Earth was not peaceful. It was brutal. But humans survived there. One elder asked. Vec nodded. They didn't just survive. They thrived. They adapted. They became stronger, smarter, meaner. The first human they killed, Sergeant Cole, was not a weapon. He was born from a world that makes weapons out of people. Meanwhile, on the battlefield, General Kraft was losing control. His forces were scattered. The humans fought without rest, like machines. But they weren't machines. They had hearts. And those hearts were full of rage. Kraft tried to open peace talks. He sent messages. Please. No answer. Then, finally, one human ship responded. It wasn't a message. It was a video. It showed Sergeant Cole, alive, bleeding, fighting alone in a recording from his helmet camera. He had been ambushed, surrounded, shot. Still, he kept fighting, until he fell. Then came the final image, a silent battlefield, his body still, the Zernak soldiers standing over him like hunters. The video ended. Then the voice of the human commander came again. Now you understand. He was our brother. You murdered him. So now we bring you the storm. The video ended, but the skies didn't. More human ships began entering orbit, bigger ones, carrier class. Thousands of humans now, not just soldiers, specialists, engineers, shock troopers. The humans weren't just attacking anymore. They were preparing to stay. Another scientist replied, maybe they have. One of the humans was captured in a lucky strike. He was brought to General Kraft, alive, but chained. Kraft leaned forward and growled, "Why are you here? What do you want?" The human stared at him. Then, in a calm, cold voice, he said, "We're not here to talk. We're here because you killed one of our own. You took our scout. You broke first contact with blood." Kraft slammed his staff down. "So you want war?" The human looked him in the eye. "We don't do war. We do payback." Suddenly, a loud blast shook the building. The humans had found the city walls. Outside, Zernak soldiers panicked. Giant machines, walkers, marched through the smoke, carrying squads of humans. The city's defense towers exploded. Fighters were shot down before they could take off. And then something new appeared. A human commander, larger than the others, stepped into the city with a group of elite soldiers. His voice boomed across loudspeakers. "You were warned. You didn't listen. Now you will understand what happens when you kill a Deathworlder." That word, Deathworlder, spread quickly across the Zernak's networks. No one knew what it meant. But soon, they would learn. As the human fleet filled the sky, their numbers grew larger by the minute. The Zernak soldiers could see thousands of tiny lights in orbit, each one a harbinger of the storm that was coming. Panic mixed with determination as the Zernak's leaders met urgently inside the command hall. General Kraft, his face lined with worry, called his top officers together. "We believe the human was one weapon," he said in a low voice, "but now they come like a tidal wave. We must prepare for the storm." In a cold room lit by flickering screens, scientists like Vec studied the video of Sergeant Cole once more. The image of the fallen human burned in his memory, a symbol of the strength and fierce survival born of a brutal world. Vec's hands shook as he said, "They are not fighting just for revenge. They fight with a will to survive. They come from a world where every moment is war." Outside the command hall, Zernak soldiers bolstered their defenses. They hurried to repair broken towers, and soldiers were deployed to every weak spot. But every plan felt doomed when the humans began their assault. Below the dark skies, the ground trembled. Explosions boomed as the human pods once again fell onto Zernak's lands, not scattered randomly this time but aimed at key facilities and supply centers. The air filled with chaos, energy blasts, screeching alarms, and desperate cries. In the heart of the chaos, General Kraft tried to rally his people. "Fight for your lives," he roared, lifting his weapon high. "We stand as one, or we fall divided." Zernak cities fell one by one. Fortresses that stood for centuries collapsed in a matter of hours. From the forests to the mountains, human forces moved like a firestorm, burning everything that stood in their path. They gave no speeches. They made no demands. They simply struck. General Kraft watched from a high tower, his fists clenched. He had underestimated them. Everyone had. They thought humans were weak. But now he knew better. "They fight like they've already died," he muttered, "like they don't fear anything." Kraft wasn't wrong. The humans didn't fear death. They had faced worse than death on Earth: poisoned lands, killer beasts, freezing storms, and endless wars. Earth had taught them that fear was useless. Only strength mattered. Now, they'd brought that lesson to the stars. At the Zernak Science Center, Vec stared at old star maps. He had found something terrible. Long ago, another race had tried to invade Earth. That race no longer existed. They wiped out an entire species. Vec said in shock, not because they wanted to, but because they had to. Back on the battlefield, the humans kept advancing. Now their machines were moving. Giant walkers with rail cannons, drones that could see through walls, even airships that dropped shock squads behind enemy lines. The Zernaks had nowhere to hide. One brave squad of Zernak's elites tried to ambush a human strike team in the valley. They set traps, used invisibility tech, and fired from all sides. It didn't work. The humans had countermeasures. They saw through the tricks. Within minutes, the ambush turned into a slaughter. One human, bloody but calm, walked past the dying Zernak's leader and whispered something chilling. "This isn't revenge. It's a message. Don't touch what you don't understand." That line was recorded. It spread across Zernak's comms, and it broke something inside the people. The civilians began to flee. Ships tried to leave the planet, but the humans had already taken orbit. Escape routes were gone. From space, the human flagship began lowering massive drills and towers onto the surface. They weren't just attacking now. They were building. The message was clear. They were staying. But the humans advanced with precision. They moved as one, their coordinated attacks like a fierce, unstoppable wave. Their energy weapons melted Zernak's barriers, and their armored figures outflanked the defenders at every turn. The Zernaks found themselves pushed back slowly, their lines crumbling against the relentless pressure. High above, the human flagship hovered like a dark sentinel. Its massive silhouette radiated power. A lower tone, like a giant heartbeat, pulsed from its engines, a sound that promised more destruction. The human commander's earlier words echoed over every speaker. "Now we bring you the storm." With every passing minute, the storm drew nearer, both in the sky and in the hearts of the Zernaks. They were fighting for more than just their land. They fought for survival against an enemy that had turned loss into vengeance. In that moment, hope was a fragile thing, clutched tightly amid the rising tide of fear. The storm was here, and the battle for the future had only just begun. The cities of Zernaks were now only shadows. Smoke covered the sky. The sound of human machines filled the air. Every corner of the planet echoed with the sound of war and defeat. Inside the last remaining stronghold, General Kraft stood in silence. His armor was broken, his eyes empty. Around him, reports came in from all directions. "The outer walls have fallen. Our air defenses are gone. They are inside the city." And then came the final message. From orbit, the human commander appeared once more, calm, cold, focused. To the Zernak's High Council, "You have no more armies. You have no more ships. You have no more choices. You asked for war, but we brought judgment." Vec stood nearby, watching the feed. "We tried to make peace after the killing." Kraft shook his head. "But humans don't forget. They warned us. We ignored them. Now we pay the price." Outside, the ground trembled. The final human units entered the capital city. Not with bombs, not with rage, but with precision. They secured each street, cleared every building, captured every weapon. In hours, the last Zernak city was under human control. Then something unexpected happened. The humans stopped. No more bombs, no more fire, no more killing. Instead, they raised a new flag over the Zernak's capital. Not a flag of Earth, a new symbol, a black circle with 7 stars. Vec asked, "What is that?" A captured human soldier answered, "That's the mark of the Deathworlder colonies. You're not under attack anymore." He paused. "You're under occupation. General Krath looked up at the stars, now filled with human ships. They came for justice and stayed for conquest. A final message was sent out from Earth to all alien races across the galaxy. We came in peace. You killed one of ours. You saw one human. You thought that was the end, but he was only the beginning.